What's up, guys? I'm BTC. We've been getting a little bit more information about what's upcoming in Overwatch and Overwatch 2. Jeff Kaplan has been giving quite a few interviews lately, and he's dropped a few tidbits of information. First thing I want to cover is the possibility of an Overwatch mobile game. Now, if you remember at last year's BlizzCon, Blizzard announced the Diablo mobile game, Diablo Immortal, and the response to that was, shall we say, less than enthusiastic. So I'm not entirely certain that Blizzard would want to release a new mobile game. I mean, they have the Diablo one and Hearthstone, which is probably their biggest, but would they want to actually release an Overwatch mobile game? Well, Jeff Kaplan was asked this question, and he said that he would support it, and he thinks that it definitely could happen, although, standard Blizzard kind of fashion, it was more of a wishful thinking kind of thing, as opposed to, oh yeah, we're definitely trying to do it, or anything like that. So it's more of a, maybe at some point down the road it could happen. I think, however, that they're more focused on Overwatch 2, and if Overwatch 2 is successful, then they're looking at expanding Overwatch into other stuff, because in the past, they have talked about, and I'm talking the Blizzard devs here for Overwatch, they have talked about expanding Overwatch into multiple games. So not just Overwatch 2, but they wanted to kind of branch it out into all different sorts of stuff. So mobile games could possibly be one of those things. Now, what kind of mobile game would it be? Well, they could just kind of try to port it over like what they did with Fortnite and PUBG. Those, obviously it's not the same quality as if you were playing on a PC, but from everything I've seen, those mobile versions of those games work pretty decently. So could they do that with Overwatch? Yeah, probably. Would it actually be successful? Would people want to play it? I'm not so sure about that one. Maybe, maybe not. I think if they were going to have an Overwatch mobile game, it would probably have to be something a little bit different. I don't quite think it would be a straight, kind of one-to-one type port. Maybe it would be more of a single-player campaign or something. You gotta remember, if it's a mobile game, there's gonna be a lot of microtransactions in it. And, I don't know if they would want to just port the normal one because of that. Moving on, Jeff Kaplan also spoke a little bit about the seasonal events and some upcoming changes that we can expect to have with Overwatch 2. Essentially, what they're doing is they're going through all of the existing seasonal events, and they're deciding what they want to keep and what they want to get rid of. So it's possible that some of the events might just go away entirely, and I don't know if those are going to be completely removed. You might probably still be able to get those items through the anniversary loot box if that event does end up sticking around, which I think it probably will, because, the anniversary is, it's kind of the anniversary. I think it's kind of like an important thing that they have each year. Now, some of the other events might be improved or changed, and others might be left the same, but there are going to be new events as well. Another thing Jeff Kaplan talked about is hero balance, and there are a couple of different sources here. It doesn't have exact quotes, so I'm just kind of paraphrasing. Essentially, what Jeff Kaplan said was that you can't simply use statistics in order to balance, because balance is art and not science. Which is probably a pretty good reason as to why the game has never been balanced. And I'm not trying to be mean here, I'm being completely blunt. At no point in time since the game's release has the game been anything even remotely close to being balanced. You can go back from the very release day until now, there have always been at least 5 or 6 characters that are objectively, verifiably stronger and better than the rest of the characters. There are probably 4 to 6 characters that are just objectively garbage that no one ever uses. And then the rest just kind of fit in the middle. Now, who's on the top and who's on the bottom will change depending on patches, but there's always 5 or 6 characters that just absolutely dominate and crush everything else. And there's also an equal amount that are just useless. That is not balanced. Now, if you're just using art to balance, that might be a good reason for why we are in the situation that we are in. Let me show you something. What you're looking at right now are the hero pick rates. Now, these are the stats that Jeff Kaplan apparently doesn't think are very important, and I know I've heard other people say that the pick rates don't really matter either, and it doesn't show or indicate how good a character is. That's simply not true, because people want to play the best characters. They want to win. They're going to use the thing that's strongest, or at least most people are. I mean, there are some people that use bad characters just because they like them, but the overwhelming majority of players are going to use the things that help them win. So right now we are in the double barrier, and you can see Moira is at the top. Now we also have Reinhardt, Ana, and Orisa, but this is looking at all of the ranks all together. So if I switch it over to Grandmaster, you immediately see a different picture. You see that Orisa and Moira and Sigma are at the top, of course, Lucio, Doomfist, Hanzo, and all that sort of stuff. So then you can scroll down and you see the characters that are not being used, and then we go all the way to the bottom and you can see that Diva, who just isn't very good in double barrier, is all the way at the bottom. Hey, Symmetra, remember those nerfs that she just got? Yeah, how she was being used in double barrier, and now she's not being used at all. And then Bastion. This is probably the single most important one that I want to show you is Bastion. Let me switch it back over to all, because I know some people are going to say, well, that's just GM, right? But look at all. Bastion is the absolute bottom, the least played character in the entire game. Now, what meta are we currently in? We are in the double barrier meta. This is the single most optimal situation for Bastion to ever have been in. And yet he is the least played character in the game. When you have a character, him and Torbjorn and Symmetra, when you have these characters that are consistently at the bottom of the pick rate, that is a problem. That is when the artsy-fartsy stuff doesn't come into play anymore. You have to look at these numbers. Look, I've made hero concepts. I understand that there's a lot of creativity that goes into it. I personally like making all of the numbers and stuff for it, the attacks and the cooldowns and all that stuff. I particularly find making all the numbers work to be pretty fun as well. But I understand there's a lot of creativity. You want to get the story right. You want to get the character design right. All that sort of stuff, you know, have it flow as a more kind of organic, natural character. But you have to look at these numbers too, right? The stats don't lie, all right? And again, maybe if you're at the bottom brackets, right? Maybe if you're looking at bronze and silver, okay, the meta doesn't really matter down there, right? It's not really a big deal. But here we are looking at Grandmaster again, and Bastion is at the bottom. And you would expect that GMs and master players to play Bastion, to play the meta, right? And yet he's still at the bottom. And you still have other characters like Torbjorn and Symmetra down there at the bottom too. Now Diva is down at the very bottom, mostly just because she's not good in double barrier. She's just terrible as a character in that particular meta. But she was previously at the top. Right, so that's more of a situation where the meta shifts and you have a character that kind of is really in favor and then it drops out of favor. But with Bastion, Torbjorn, and Symmetra, and even Soldier, these characters are consistently at the bottom. There is a problem. You have to look at the stats. You have to look at the numbers. This matters. It's not art. There is science to balancing characters. There absolutely is. There's a reason why Dota is unbelievably well balanced with over 110, it's like 115 characters, 116 characters at this point. It is extremely well balanced. Not just with the characters, but they also have talent trees, you also have items. I mean, there's more stuff in that game than there is in Overwatch, and yet it is exponentially better balanced than this game. You have a character that is consistently at the very, 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 very bottom. There's a problem with that. It's not art. It's science. Absolutely. the funny thing is that some people still insist that I hate Bastion or Reaper or Symmetra or some of these other characters. It couldn't be further from the truth, and I've said this before. I don't hate any of the characters. What I hate is the fact that some characters are so objectively better than the rest that you almost have to use them if you want to be successful. And then you have other characters that are just so bad that it's effectively a detriment to your team to use them. I don't think that's good balance. I don't think that's good for the game. Because then when you have people who want to play these characters, then, they get all kinds of stuff, yelled at. Hey, switch off that character. It's garbage, blah, blah, blah. You have to play this. There should be more variety. And I don't think that all the characters are going to be, perfectly useful in every single situation. I don't think that every character is going to have the same pick rate, but they need to be a little bit closer, right? Like, it can be better, is what I'm getting at. It can be better. And if you're not looking at the numbers, then it's not going to get there. So, anyways, there you go, guys. Some new information and a little bit of frustration on my part. But what do you guys think about new events and also the possibility of an Overwatch mobile game or the hero balance situation? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.